Hey guys, we are live. So I'm just going to start out by saying that this is going to be a little bit more podcast style and not so much webinar style with like slides. So if you guys want to like chill and be looking at Pinterest while you're listening to this, or do whatever, take notes. If you want to like start cooking something, baking, whatever, sipping on wine, definitely don't feel like you need to look at my face the whole time. That's definitely understandable if you don't want to do that. But I just also want to encourage you to do be paying attention and do take notes if possible, just because I am going to cover a lot in a half hour or even less than a half hour. I definitely want to be cautious of your time, and I don't want to go over that time amount. I also want to let you know that this is totally pitch free. You will not be pitched at the end, which is also kind of why we don't have a chat or a Q&A. Just I've got some value that I want to share today, and I want to tell you a little bit about how to start your side hustle while you're still working full time. So that's exactly what we're going to cover in the next half hour. And for those of you who don't know me, or maybe didn't know me kind of the first time around when I was working on my business and blogging and everything. So, I guess I went to school to be a teacher, and I did teach for 2 years. And during that time period, I had a blog before this one, which with basically the same name. I guess I had to change it to a .club, so it's HaleyDeyoung.club rather than HaleyDeyoung.com now. Somebody bought my URL while I was kind of taking a break from blogging and business. So I kind of took a break for about 10 months to reevaluate what I wanted to do and see if I even still wanted to run my own business. And I definitely in that time period really missed it and decided I do want to continue with it. So I'm back. This is kind of my welcome back webinar, and just kind of wanted to share some value and all of the things that I learned with you guys, and just kind of give you some tips too, since I used to be a teacher, but now I work with teens who have misdemeanor charges, and I kind of put on a juvenile diversion program for them. So I am working, even more hours. I don't have summers off to like catch up on all kinds of business tasks and like kind of automate things to run the rest of the year. So I am at it full time all the time, and also, back to running my own business. So I've been back to running my own business for probably 2 months, but it's a lot easier this time around. So I kind of wanted to share with you guys what I'm doing this time around and what you guys can do to make time for yourself to start your business, and also to not get fired. But the very first thing that I want to start with today is just kind of give you some of my experiences and then how you can get started. So, I know from my own experience, it's definitely not easy to work full time while you're trying to run a business. Both obviously working full time, you're putting in 40 hours or more. If you're working overtime or on salary, you're working more. And I've tried out multiple different business ventures, and I'm not saying that what I've stumbled upon is going to have to be your business venture. But so I have bought wholesale items and resold them online. I have had a blog where I sold like ad space and affiliate products. And so now, this time around, and kind of the last time that I was in business, I am selling courses and digital products and my focus is that I want to help people who, maybe aren't as happy in their career, and I want to help them to start doing things that they love by having their own business rather than by feeling like stuck at a job. um, I want them to have a little bit more freedom in their lives. And so I make courses and products that kind of help people to navigate that and get started in their own business ventures, and just there's so many different areas of that. So to just kind of help them out with all those different areas. So I think that starting your own business is a really great way to take back some of the control in your life and give yourself some flexibility to do more of what you want in your life. The hardest part, though, is that for most people, we have to get started while we're still working full time. So For a lot of us, this means that our ideas just never see the light of day, just because we don't have time to get started with those ideas, or you don't know how to get started, which is a huge one, especially you know if you want to start like a physical place, then that's a lot of money up front. And then, one of the barriers is, time. You might have to sit there and, try to sell things, physically in the store. Whereas like online, personally, that's my preference because it doesn't cost as much and you don't physically have to be there online. But for a lot of people, the roadblock there is that you maybe don't know how to work the tech, or you don't know exactly how to market things online. Whereas you see some of the more old school business and marketing techniques with like mom and pop shops. So today I really want to put a damper on some of those roadblocks. And, and the last thing that I want to touch on too is kind of how to not get fired while you're working a full-time job, and trying to run your own business. So I'm going to cover some of that. The first thing that I want to get started with though is how you can get started with your business and exactly what you need to do that. So you are going to need a product, a way to get paid, and of course people to buy it. So if you already know what you want to sell, then that's awesome. Like congrats, because I it took me forever to figure out what I wanted to sell. I just knew that I wanted to somehow put myself out there into the world and, and make money, but I didn't necessarily want to like make a craft and sell it or have like physical products that I was selling. I already did that kind of with a wholesale business, buying products cheaper and then reselling them. And so I wanted to go a different route. I knew that wasn't exactly where I wanted to be. And, it was a lot of work. It took a lot of storage and it took a lot of money up front. So if if those are concerns to you, then you might want to think about selling a digital product or a service. And I do have a product workbook that you can download too, and I will send the link to that along in this replay video. There's actually a couple of links that I will send in the replay video that will really help you to get started with your own business. You also need, like I said, a product, a way to get paid, and people to buy it. So a way to get paid, one of the easiest ones if you want to go into online business, and that's what I'm going to focus on for the majority of the time is online business, just because that's where my expertise is. I can't pretend to know about owning a physical shop since I haven't done that. So, you'll need, if you want to go into online business, a website or at least some type of online storefront. So that could be selling products on eBay, on Etsy. You can sell courses and other digital downloads on Teachable, and that can be your online storefront and the place that you get paid. Um, if you have a website and you sell services, then you'll have a website, and I will send along a link of my whole blog post on how to set up a website and how you can get started with that today. And that's pretty straightforward. And if you really 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 need help setting up a website, then I can definitely help you out in some aspects with that as much as I can, with without being physically there. But and otherwise, you can always, like, people design websites for other people. You can pay someone to do that if that's really the only thing that's stopping you. Um, so if you have just a website and you don't go through like Etsy or eBay or anything, then you'll need to link up some way to get paid. And so I use Teachable, and I deliver all my products through Teachable. You can, if it's you like talking on the phone with somebody for a coaching service or like web development or anything like that, then you can use like PayPal or Stripe or any number of these other ways to get paid online and just get that set up. You need to make it easy for people to pay you, and you need a website and a place for them to find you. So the next thing that you're really going to need is people to buy it. So obviously you can put your stuff out there and have a website, but if nobody is coming to your website, no one is finding you, then it's really hard for you to get paid. So that is one of the nice things about selling things on like Etsy or eBay, is that there's already tons of people who go to those websites and are searching for products on there. But if you don't want to like pay their fees, or if you want to do some of the next things that I'm going to talk about, like be able to write blog posts and share videos and things like that, then you're going to want your own website, and you're going to want to drive traffic to that website. So you will need to set up social media accounts so that you can kind of be sharing on those and reach the masses that are already on those social media sites. So what the ideal with social media is that you're going to, I mean, you'll have your products and you'll have content, which could be blog posts, about, that relates maybe to your products. Or if you don't have a product yet, you can just start writing blog posts and kind of see what people are interested on, and that can give you ideas to create products. Um, but so you're going to write this content or share your products on social media and start building up a following there, and then those followers will then come to your website and kind of see your products and eventually want to buy from you after you build up some trust. So for social media, you're going to want to pick probably 1 to 3 social media platforms to focus on. So my favorites right now are Pinterest and Instagram. I've gone through different spurts with like Twitter, and I actually just this week or last week started up a Facebook page finally, just so that I could try out some of the other features on Facebook. I know I'll probably eventually want to do Facebook ads, and I already have a Facebook group. So I mean, there's all kinds of different things that you can do, and kind of my advice for picking your social media is go one with places that you're already comfortable with. If you already know how to use it and you're already on there, then you're going to be more likely to use it than if you're learning a whole new platform and think that you might hate that platform. And then also go where your ideal audience is. Who is most likely to buy your products? Is the person that's most likely to buy your products young, like teenagers? Then you might want to go hang out on like Instagram and Snapchat. um, if that's more like moms, then you might want to hang out on Pinterest or Facebook, for example. So that's, kind of how to pick a social media platform based on your followers. And you can, look up all kinds of research about the demographics of people who are on the different social media platforms. And also, another thing is, if you have a really visual product, so if you make pottery, or if you sell jewelry, it's easy to be able to take pictures of that. And so you might want to think about getting on Instagram or on Pinterest before some of the other different platforms. Um, so that's just one way to really bring people back to your website with social media. And you'll want to do content for your website, and then you'll share that content for your website on social media. And so for content, that should relate in some way to your product, or in some way position you to be an expert in your field. So, for example, maybe you want to sell cookbooks. So you're probably going to want to be writing a bunch of recipes and sharing them online so that people see how good your recipes are and know that they can trust your cookbooks. So you might be making cooking videos, you might be writing blog posts with recipes, or writing blog posts about like different food festivals. You can do all kinds of different things like that. You could do videos, podcasts, blog posts, and then you're going to want to be sharing those all over social media. You're also going to want to connect with people where they're already at, and where they're already kind of talking. So that might be communities like Facebook communities, or I know like LinkedIn even has communities. I haven't kind of dove into those at all, but I have kind of read about them. Facebook communities are a great place to go. Different comments on other, if there's a big blog in your niche, then you might want to kind of check out, those bigger name blogs and start commenting on those and get to know some of the people that are within that community. Um, if you are a someone who's trying to sell products for new mothers. Maybe you are a coach for new mothers, and or you want to like help help pregnant women, coach them through their pregnancy, something like that. So you might be looking for Facebook groups for new moms, or maybe you would seek out like hospitals who are having classes for new moms, things like that, and maybe get your name out there in those communities. And that way, you're not scrambling all over the internet to try to find a couple of people who might be interested in you. You're just going to those groups where those people are already at. They've already congregated there, and you're putting yourself in the middle of them. So that's kind of the biggest things that I think you need to do to get started. And the next piece to that is finding the time to do that. So you're going to want to carve out just a little bit of time each week. And I'm going to dive right back into that in just a minute here, but just to kind of touch on an overview of how to get started. So, like I said, I will send out along with the replay, I'll send out my blog post on how to start your own website and some on how to get started on social media and how to start writing content for your just for your website and to position yourself as an expert. So, I like I said, I'm trying to stick with the 30-minute mark here. So I'm kind of just skimming through those things. And then I'm going to send you along some more content that will outline it a little bit better too. And I think some of those need some visual aspects as well. So I'm going to send those along with the replay here. So how to find time. So it does help if you pick something that you actually want to do so that you can go to it for stress relief or as a hobby rather than just coming home and feeling like you're just getting back to work after you already worked an 8, 9, 10-hour day. So the biggest thing to start is that it is going to take a little bit of time to create a website or to kind of set up shop initially. So you're going to want to, you might need to take a weekend and create a website and your social media account. You're also going to want to make kind of a list of some content ideas and things that you will want to write about. And if you need to start producing your product, you can do that. Otherwise, like I said, what I did personally was I started writing online, and I started a website. I started writing about a couple different things, and I kind of saw what took off and what people were interested in, and that helped me to come up with product ideas rather than starting out with a product, because I never would have got started if I had to come up with a product first. So I liked bouncing my ideas off people and just kind of seeing what they needed and what they were interested in that I could try out first and implement that and then share my results with them. So you'll want to write up some ideas about content, and if you need to start working on a product, you can do that. You might want to write up a business plan and get a general idea of how you want to make your money. If you don't know yet, then don't worry about that. Just start putting things out into the world and see where it takes you rather than just always kind of having this dream or this idea that you want to do it. Just the biggest thing is to just get started, because it doesn't have to cost that much. And it's a lot simpler and a lot cheaper than it is just set up like a brick and mortar store. So if you don't know how to do the tech, you might need to hire somebody to do your website. That would probably be the most costly piece to it. So after you're initially set up and you have your website set up, here's kind of your plan. So what I do, I get up I write out my blog posts, and whenever I have time, so like on the weekends, I try to write out 2 or 3 blog posts and get them pre-scheduled. If I have more time than that, then I really try to write in bulk, and I I write as much as I can and get things pre-scheduled out at least a week in advance, if not a month in advance. There are times where I have a month's worth of content set up in advance. You don't have to share 5 days a week. You can just share 3 times a week or 1 time a week, whatever works best for you. So I get up just a few minutes earlier than normal to share new posts, comment in Facebook groups, and make sure I'm sharing a little bit on Pinterest, just kind of interacting a little bit with all of my social media um, outlets, and just making sure I'm just answering anything that needs to be answered quickly and getting any new posts shared, making sure that my stuff is getting out into the world. I also set aside some time. I try to set aside a little bit of time at night to either work on something or write, or write up an email, things like that. If you don't have like a set, if you don't have a good chunk of time at night, if you can't set aside 30 to 60 minutes each night, then you might need to say, okay, I need to set aside 3 hours of time on a Saturday afternoon. Um, and just be sure to schedule that time in just like you would an appointment or a meeting with a friend. And it's really important then too to unplug, turn off your notifications, and just get to work on writing or on creating your product, whatever it is that you need to start working on. You'll also want to, after you kind of initially get started, there's a lot of things that go into it initially that you have to physically do. After you initially get started, though, you can start to put things on autopilot. Autopilot, you can use tools like If This Then That, the Later app for Instagram, Buffer to schedule your social media, Ahology, or any other scheduling tools for social media. And then you'll also want to take advantage of like scheduling your blog posts ahead of time in Squarespace or WordPress. So just make sure you schedule things, write up processes so that you don't have to keep trying to refigure out how to do them. And if you use whatever type of planner or tool that you think you need, you can use like Trello for writing up processes. You can use Google Calendar, or you can just use a paper planner too. So just try to be as organized as you can and really manage your time wisely. Set aside time for it. And so the next part is how not to get fired. And I'm kind of leading into this after setting aside some time, just because I want to say don't work on it at work. Don't try to set aside time during the workday to work on your website. Make sure that that time is after work, and or on the weekends, whenever you're not supposed to be working. That's not to say that on your lunch break you can't take a few minutes to share some pins on Pinterest and work on like growing that Pinterest following or something. That's not to say that you can't send out an email on your lunch break, things like that. But so I just to kind of go back to the beginning, what I would say the biggest thing to not get fired is to not pick a topic that is a conflict of interest. So if you would be directly stealing away clients from your work, they probably wouldn't be happy about that, and that could be grounds for getting fired. So if you work for a web design firm, then you probably wouldn't want to be working there and then doing your own web design business on the side, since you would directly be in competition. That should be fairly obvious, but you know, sometimes people don't necessarily think about that. Also, don't publicly, you'll start to grow more of a social media following and have a little bit more of a platform. So you want to be careful not to badmouth your company or workplace. Obviously, like I already said, don't work on your business while you're at work. Be careful about talking too much about it, but also don't hide it. You don't want them to think that you're like sneaking around and trying to hide something, or being too sketchy about it. But at the same point in time, you don't want to talk about it so much that they're thinking it's distracting you from work, or that you know that you're overly promoting it or making anybody feel uncomfortable or obligated to purchase from you. You definitely want to show up, make sure you're doing your job, and kind of don't act like anything's any different. Just I mean, people might notice that you are in a little bit better mood, or maybe if you are not as able to um, have drinks after work with them, anything like that, they might notice it. um, and you can feel free to tell them about your new business if you want, but you can also not share it if you want. The biggest thing that I think to take away to not get fired is to just don't work on it while you're at work. Don't try to hide it, but don't overly share, and don't pick a conflict of interest. Just make sure you're staying professional, continuing to do your job, and no one should really be upset about it. In fact, you might be learning new skills that would really be an asset to your company. And a lot of bosses like to see people learning new skills or picking up new um, tech trainings, things like that. So it might be really good, and it might make you an even better employee. And also, just to let you know, just because you're starting your own business doesn't mean that you want to quit your job. It could just mean that you have multiple passions, or that you need a little bit extra money on the side, and just want a little bit more freedom and flexibility in your budget. So that's kind of my overview of how to not get fired, how to just get started, and how to find time. So like I said in the replay, I'm going to send along a couple more resources that go in a little bit more into depth on some of those topics, just so that you can um, go more into depth on it and really get started after this webinar. If that's what you want to do with the rest of your weekend, feel free to. But I really wanted to give you an overview just so that you could take some of these steps and get started this weekend if you want, and but also do not take up too much of your Saturday. So I hope that you guys learned a lot from this, and I'm just gonna let you guys go now. It was really good to get back on and do another webinar. This is my first one since kind of restarting my business. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you have a good rest of your weekend. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.